Are you not entertained?
Yes, sir! We'll have a real good time!
He's Dave, and I'm Dallas, and this is Vintertainment. We have opinions on just about everything. Sometimes those opinions are spot on. Sometimes they go down easier with a glass of wine. This is Vintertainment, the wine and entertainment pairing podcast.
Welcome back to another wine and entertainment pairing for your Vintertainment. This is, of course, the podcast where we pair wine with entertainment. It is as simple as that. We always know what we like or dislike, but we rarely know why. So what better way to learn about that than by comparing different wines to different types of entertainment and compare how they both hit us and affect us the way that they do. I'm Dave, your WSET Level 3 certified wine professional.
And I'm Dallas, a professional writer and world builder. And now, for what we normally call the wine trivia question of the week, but in our research for this episode, I've uncovered such a cool little piece of cinematic history. We have instead decided to do a movie trivia question of the week. So, here's the movie trivia question of the week. George Clooney shot to stardom thanks to snagging a leading role in the TV show ER, which ran from 1995 to 1999. But Clooney actually played an emergency room technician in a TV sitcom all the way back in 1984. And this 1984 gig was Clooney's first ever landing a recurring role. So he essentially owes his entire career, even its very beginning, to emergency rooms everywhere. So the question is, what is the name of that 1984 sitcom? To find out the answer, head over to our Substack, vintertainmentstudios.com, find this post on Out of Sight, and scroll down to the bottom where the answer will be posted.
And now let's tuck into today's subject matter, which was brought to us by two very special guests who are with us here in the studio, well, remotely, in digital spirit, as it were, in our Riverside studio, as Riverside likes to call itself. Please, everyone, welcome Lauren Smerkanich and Kevnin A. Rice. And Lauren, you can tell me if I'm pronouncing your last name right there in just a little minute. Okay, she's nodding. Okay, perfect. Lauren is a Los Angeles-based playwright and screenwriter. Her play, The Dignity Circle, is set to have its Los Angeles premiere in February 2026 at Theater of Note in Hollywood. And can I just say, when I first read that bio in preparation for this podcast, I saw February 2026, and I was like, whoa, that's a long time from now. That's really far in advance. And I was like, oh, Jesus, no. I was like, that is how? What has happened to time? How is February 2026 that close? Anyway, February 2026 at Theater of Note in Hollywood, she will have her The Dignity Circle play set to premiere here in Los Angeles. Her work has been put up in Los Angeles, the Bay Area, New York, and at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. She currently has several screenplays in development, both as an independent writer and with her writing and life partner, Kevnin A. Rice. Kevin has just learned that he's in it for life, and so is rethinking all his life decisions. No, I'm just kidding. So Kevin is a Los Angeles-based screenwriter. Since graduating from AFI, Kevin has worked on various projects in TV and film, including the feature film BECKETT that was produced by Luca Guadagnino. A lot of you might know Luca as the director of Challengers and Call Me By My Name, but he is also a prolific producer. He has mostly produced films to champion other Italian directors, and sure enough, BECKETT was directed by an Italian director. Most recently, Kevin here has begun co-writing features with his very talented wife, Lauren. So, Lauren, Kevin, together, welcome to Vintertainment. This is your first time with us. I met these two during my wine duties here in LA, first at the Blending Lab down in West Adams. And then we also ran into each other at Curated Wine Shop, not too far from here, which we both hang out at frequently. So I told them about this podcast, and it was just natural that we bring on a playwright and a screenwriter who loved wine. And that's LA, baby. You got to love it. So welcome onto the show, you two. How are you feeling? And are you ready to talk some Out of Sight?
Please, yes.
I
great.
think so. Yeah. We rewatched it last night. We did our homework. We feel ready.
Yes.
All right. Now, do you know the answer to our movie trivia question of the week?
I have a guess, but I could be way wrong, and I want to. I'll save it. I don't want to ruin it for you, but
No. Throw it. I can
Throw
edit
it
it
out.
out. Throw
We
it
can
out.
edit-
Throw it out there.
We'll let it out.
my only guess would be because of the time period, be Facts of Life, but I don't think that's who he was on Facts of Life.
No, not Facts
guess.
of Life. So everyone gets
Good
that as a
guess.
freebie, not
Good
Facts of
guess.
Life.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
That was
I
my
will
question.
reveal it to you guys off, like when we're done, like before you leave. I'll be like, by the way. So tell us, please, why did you pick Out of Sight to talk about in the first place? Why did you pick that? And for this podcast, please.
Well, so yes, just some brief backstory. We are both writers who come to writing from completely different, points of view and from different traditions. And last year we decided to write something together, a screenplay, and we were looking for reference films, right?
Yeah, and I would say I think ultimately Out of Sight became our sort of North Star in a way.
Yeah.
I just as an aside, like I think there are two movies if you mention to like executives in Hollywood that my experience is if you mention Midnight Run or Out of Sight to film executives, their eyes light up. And, like,
Interesting. Okay.
and that's
All
not
right.
necessarily why we picked it, but I'm a big fan of it, and Lauren was as well. And we were working on something, I think, like you said, that married our sensibilities, that was a romantic crime film and is a romantic crime film. And we looking for a target, so to speak.
Yeah, and it's the tonally of the movie. I don't. It's really, really specific, but it works so well. And we're not sure that anything that we could create would A, do it justice, or B, be as sellable as it was. I mean, you spoke to its success. Maybe it wasn't sellable in 1998, but it's what we would like to shoot for, because it's that the marriage of the romance, the fact that it's light, the fact that it still has some danger and some weight to it, was just kind of exactly what we hope to achieve, I think. And
yeah. I think I had Elmore Leonard as a novelist was weirdly like a blind spot to me. Like I knew who he was. I'd seen all the films based on his stuff. And I had read one or two of his books, but I had just not. And this year I was kind of like, okay, it was Elmore Leonard and Robert Caro, the two authors this year. I was like, I'm going to try to work through some of their books. And Leonard, I was like, I can't believe it's taken me this many years to dig into Leonard's novels, because they're amazing, right? Like I love crime novels. I love that genre. So so a lot of his tone is represented in the film, like that. Like they did an amazing job. Like and I think it's a hard thing to duplicate. And I think it's a tone we really appreciate and have been sort of shoot for. And it's like, yeah, I like things that are grounded with a little bit of humor, a little bit of love in them. You know,
Yeah. So when we rewatched it, we were kind of like, oh God, this movie's perfect.
We had
really
we had a treat when we finished the draft of the thing we were working on previously. As a sort of our goal was Out of Sight was playing the New Beverly, so I was like, okay, we're going to get the draft off.
Thank God for the New Bev.
So we saw it.
Yeah,
100%. So yeah, we had to see it in theaters a few months ago.
Well, you know, it's funny that you mentioned the New Beverly, because when this film came out, I remember personally, because I did not see it in theaters, but I saw it as a new release on like a Blockbuster Hollywood Video, something like that. So fairly quickly after it came out on home video. And I remember the film like going in pretty much assured that it was going to be very Tarantino-esque in its whole vibe, its whole something. Right. Like it wasn't Tarantino, and I did not know who Steven Soderbergh was at the time. I was not quite a cinephile yet. I was a burgeoning cinephile, but I did not actually know what I was talking about yet. And so at the time I was like, okay, cool. But apparently the reason it didn't do as well in the box office, or so most people say, Steve Zahn did an interview once where he was like, it was the marketing. They marketed it as a crime thriller, like an
poster specifically. He had issues with the posters specifically because it apparently set up some sort of, and I remember looking at it, love triangle. That was what everybody got from the poster images that came out in the original marketing. So yeah, you're absolutely right, Dave. Steve Zahn and I think Danny DeVito had I don't know where I put it, but Danny DeVito had a quote too, something about the audience not knowing what to expect with the film being the thing that not tanked it, but added to its lack of success. So yeah.
There's a great, I don't know if it was released later, but there's a great poster that I don't it still doesn't tell you, it doesn't, but it's a great, it's just Jennifer Lopez like with like holding a shotgun and over sort of George Clooney's in the background, and it's like this great, it looks like a 70s poster. It's like, but that's not the poster I remember from like the DVD or the like, it's not what it was.
No, that's all new. That's all the recent releases when on Blu-ray and whatnot, when they're like, oh, now we get what the style of this is, and we're confident to promote it in that style, where at the time I remember the poster of like, it was like George Clooney's face, Jennifer Lopez's face, and like a gun. Yeah. On this blackish and slick silver black poster. And I'm like, yeah, that looks like a crime thriller, like a proper thriller. And you can't tell what the story is from it either. It's just.
I have a very vivid memory of, I didn't see it until a few years after it was on, DVD or whatever at the time. And I have a very vivid memory of somebody being like, you need to see that movie. And I was like, oh, somebody I trusted, I was like, okay. And I remember sitting down, like in 10 minutes in, I'm like, oh, this movie's amazing. It was just, So.
I mean, even just that opening, that was a great idea of them to move that robbery right to the opening. And even the way he uses like freeze frames in these seemingly, like it makes you pay attention, because you're like, that was weird. That wasn't something obvious. Yeah.
We had a debate this morning because we were working on this new project, and we were like, would we have, like, novel aside, obviously the novel is, that's an Elmore I have not read, so I can't speak to the novel, but the scene where, like, if you were writing, would you let your main character have their car not start? You know what I mean? Like, would you when you string it all together, it all makes sense, right? Like, he presents as one thing, but in reality, he's another. It's a screw up. He's not infallible. Like, he's, like, all these, it works all perfectly. But it was like, we were debating, like, oh yeah, if you were writing that, would you go, well, we can't have his car just not start after all that, And Lauren pointed out the great thing in the trunk to that same sort of point, when he quotes Network but gets it wrong.
Yes.
And it's like this thing where he's like not perfect. He's not to the character actor comment. He's not, he appears slick, but is not completely.
And he's not even attempting to be. That's what's amazing about it. He's not necessarily attempting to be. This is just this is the frequency you get with this guy. He has great ideas, big ideas. Some of them hit often, but there's that sort of just crack in his armor that allows him to get caught as often as he does. And it is fascinating. It's beautiful. It's a great characterization, great character.
Right. I mean, even as you learn later, he had gone to get a job and rejected it just because it was a low job, right? And he realized he was going to be punching a clock as a security guard of all things, which is part of the humor there. And then you realize that what you just saw and the reason the car doesn't start and all that fun stuff, this wasn't planned. He had no intention of doing this until the moment he just got pissed off and was like, F it, I'm doing it. And went into the nearest bank right across the street and just tried to pull whatever he could. But it shows you how quick he is on his feet.
Exactly.
Because he did all of that improvisationally and pulled the whole, and actually he pulled it off. He just got caught immediately afterwards, but pulls it off and then goes out and then it's like, you didn't even have a reliable car, dude. Like, this was not a good idea. He's charismatic. Which I think sometimes, like, naturally, he has an authentic charisma, which I think gets misread as slickness when slick isn't quite what he actually is. He's just got a natural charisma.
He's successfully impulsive. He is successfully impulsive, generally.
There you go.
Yeah.
He's a confident risk taker and is able to think on his feet when it doesn't go his way.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, before we go any further, let's do a brief overview of what this movie is, how it came to be, and its legacy today. So, Out of Sight is based on the Elmore Leonard novel of the same name. The story follows Jack Foley, played by George Clooney, the most successful bank robber in the country, or according to the logline. I'm sorry, did you two get the sense that he was the most successful bank robber in the country?
We were actually talking about this earlier today. So if you have thoughts on this, we can circle back to them whenever you guys are ready.
I think prolific is probably the better term, but he seems to be
hopeless cause, and I mean, in and out lifer, but I'm not sure about like the most successful. I mean, maybe in just the sheer quantity that he wound up stealing, but he kept getting caught, but he did steal it before he got caught, so that makes him the most successful. I don't know anyway.
Indeed.
Maybe I think this is according to the novel, and they sort of stuck with it for the movie. But in any event, according to the logline, Jack Foley, played by George Clooney, is the most successful bank robber in the country. On the day he busts out of jail, he finds himself stealing something far more precious than money. Karen Sisko's heart. Karen Sisko, played by Jennifer Lopez. She's smart, she's sexy, and unfortunately for Jack, she's a federal marshal. Now they're willing to risk it all to find out if there's more between them than just the law. The film is classified as a crime comedy, which is mostly accurate, though I'd personally call it a romantic crime movie. I feel like the romance takes front and center. The comedy, if there are rom-coms, and this is a rom-crime, I know that doesn't have the same ring to it as rom-com, but this has comedy a la the Coen brothers, maybe a little bit like from a Tarantino type film. It has that lightheartedness, a little bit of humor to it, but it's much more of a romance crime drama, and I wouldn't call it a thriller either. It's not that thrilling per se, though there are a few thrilling moments, but this is an outright romance film. The novel was adapted by screenwriter Scott Frank, who had also adapted another Elmore Leonard novel, Get Shorty, for producer Danny DeVito, just prior to this one. Danny DeVito was so happy with Get Shorty that he immediately sought out another Leonard novel to adapt and rehired Scott to pen the adaptation. Fun facts, Scott Frank, he is the main credited writer on Spielberg's Minority Report as well, a movie we just covered on this podcast. So everyone go check out our episode on Steven Spielberg's Minority Report as well. Now, Frank originally took the job so his family could move into a bigger home, but later described his time writing the screenplay as the most fulfilling of his career, and he would receive an Academy Award nomination for his efforts. Now, Frank felt that while Elmore Leonard's book was about Karen Sisko, she didn't really change all that much, whereas Jack Foley was, quote-unquote, much sadder and more interesting, which led to Frank moving the bank robbery that took place in the middle of Leonard's book to the opening. He also did this to replicate the propulsive beginning of Dog Day Afternoon from 1975. And then from there, the film became more about Foley, more from his POV than Sisko's, although the movie does switch between their POVs all throughout. It is very much about the two of them. But if the novel was like 60-40 towards Sisko, this one's 60-40 towards Foley. Out of Sight became the sixth narrative feature film to be directed by Steven Soderbergh. Soderbergh broke onto the scene with Sex, Lies, and Videotape, a surprise art house box office mega success at the time that went on to gain a cult following on home video and premium TV. He followed that film up with a string of critically acclaimed box office bombs, including 1991's Kafka, starring Jeremy Irons, which is a film I just wrote about and posted on our Substack today in preparation for this podcast, because I kind of remembered that film. I rented that back in my Hollywood video blockbuster days, like right off the shelf. It was such a curious looking film, and it's a fascinating one. I highly recommend everyone go check out our Substack, entertainmentstudios.com. Check out our write-up on that. We have wine pairings with it too. And then, yeah, check that out. That was his second film, and it was highly, highly ambitious. Then after that, he did King of the Hill, The Underneath, and the highly experimental micro-budget Schizopolis, which Soderbergh also starred in. Now, this is where Dallas is going to take it over. Go for it, Dallas.
I am indeed. By 1998, Soderbergh had managed to hit since his debut almost 10 years earlier, and he had already directed two smaller art house films for Universal and was in the process of considering Almost Human by screenwriter Charlie Kaufman when producer Casey Silver offered him Out of Sight. In later years, Soderbergh would see the film as a, quote, very conscious decision on my part to try and climb my way out of the art house ghetto, which can be as much of a trap as making blockbuster films. And I was very aware that at that point in my career, half the business was off limits to me. Nevertheless, Soderbergh had to be convinced. His instinct was to turn the project down and do the Charlie Kaufman film, but producer Casey Silver said to him in no uncertain terms, if you don't do this movie, it means you don't want to direct movies. This is so up your alley, you have to do this. Things aren't going to line up very often. You should pay attention. That's a hell of a thing to say to a director mid-career, by the way. Thanks
He's
to
like,
the star.
we're not giving you
Right.
we're not giving you a film like this again. So if
Right.
you don't take it, so
He's like,
now or
he's
never,
like,
buddy.
yeah, he's like, wake up, open up, guy. Thanks to the star power behind the producerial scenes, Danny DeVito, by the way, who secured the rights for this initially, the film was able to bring on a stellar cast, including rising movie stars George Clooney and Jennifer Lopez. Fun fact: Sandra Bullock was strongly considered for Lopez's role, but according to Soderbergh, she had great chemistry with Clooney, but it was the wrong movie. It wasn't Elmore Leonard energy. The supporting cast includes Ving Rhames, Steve Zahn, Don Cheadle, Dennis Farina, Luis Guzman, Catherine Keener, Isaiah Washington, Keith Longacre. Is it Longacre or Longacre? I thought it was Longacre.
I think it's Lon Ecker.
Oh, interesting. Now, Nancy Allen and Albert Brooks with cameos by Michael Keaton and, surprisingly, and the fourth quarter, Sam Jackson.
The film was critically acclaimed, but surprisingly not a box office success. On a $48 million budget, it grossed just $37.5 million domestically and a grand total of $77.7 million worldwide. So not a bomb, but not quite breaking even, let alone turning a profit. Nevertheless, the film found a second life on home video, was nominated for 2 Academy Awards, Best Adapted Screenplay and Best Film Editing, and is now considered one of the better crime films of that era. It sits with a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes based on over 100 professional reviews. So that's the movie we're going to be discussing and pairing wine with today. And this is the part of the pod where we're going to say what the wines are that we're going to pair with this movie. Then we're going to dive deep into the discussion of the movie itself. So Dallas, kick us off, and then we'll turn it over to our guests, and then I'll bring it on home after that. But what wine did you pair with Out of Sight and why?
All right. I remember seeing this film for the first time probably a decade ago. And I remember thinking, this is Jennifer Lopez's best work by a mile. Mostly because it doesn't necessarily require... It doesn't necessarily... No, calm down. I think The Cell is a beautiful film.
Shigley, come on.
Oh, come on. This film is a bit cheesy, but I like cheesy. It's also kind of sweet. It has a nice little bite. It is well written. It is well structured. It's got all the things. You've got the Elmore Leonard kind of core. By the way, a bit of an aside here. Clooney's performance in the trunk scenes, which they shot 45 times, by the way. We'll probably get to that later. Really made me think of him, for some reason, as a proper character actor. And you never associate Clooney with character acting. And specifically, I really don't. He's just a version of himself in everything. He's lovely to look at, and he's
I feel like the version of himself, though, is a character actor. Like, he's such a character.
I don't know.
Whenever he has to play it really, really straight, he's not that great. He's not that great at super straight.
It doesn't transform enough for me. But I will say, it was the first time I really thought he could play that character in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. That trunk scene, for some reason, I was like, I'd like to see Clooney in that role. Anyway, the film was well structured. It is plummy, juicy, all things you get in a good dessert wine, except the cheese, of course. So I went with a Vecchio Florio Marsala Superiore 2020 dry. You can get the sweet version, of course, but when they say sweet, it is saccharinous. It is really, really sweet. Marsala, of course, generally is known as a blending wine, as a cooking wine sometimes, but in the dry fortified versions, you can find some really interesting ones, really great ones. And this one is 18 ABV, grown and produced near the western coast of Sicily, within the province of Trapani. The Florio Masalas have been produced in this land for nearly 2 centuries. The grapes used are the Grillo and the Coderato, both white varieties. The Superior is aged in oak barrels for 24 months. It, as an aperitif on its own, goes again great with medium-aged cheeses. And since around here, Dave and I are both, in fact, considered medium-aged cheeses, it works out. And on the palate, you get lots of the good raisins and currants and the vanillas, and it is surprisingly pleasant, much like this film. That's my pairing.
All right, so Lauren and Kevin, what do you got for us? What are you pairing with Out of Sight, and why?
I'd just like to state before we start speaking that neither of us are experts in wine, and this will not sound nearly as intelligent.
This is not a podcast for experts.
No, this is not
a
a podcast for experts.
It's red and it's wet.
It's open at the moment.
It's wet.
Open.
That's a t-shirt.
That's a t-shirt,
I think
for sure.
we'll state how we acquired it, like our
So you'd mentioned curated, and we went in today and we spoke with one of the owners, Johnny, who was super helpful, kind of explaining
Johnny.
the task at hand. Yeah,
hey, Johnny.
Shout out to Johnny, so helpful. Thank you so much. And we were kind of playing with the idea of unlikely pairings, because we thought that Karen Sisko and Jack Foley are an unlikely combination. And we kind of came around to, while we explored some of those wines, a slightly different tactic, which was bending the rules.
That's what we
Karen
do
Sisko
here.
really-
That's what we do.
That's what we do. That's what we do. So Karen Sisko just really bends the rules. For a very moral, upstanding character, she bends her own morality a couple times.
Well, and one could argue so does Jack Foley.
One could argue that.
As
That's
a
true.
background.
Yes. So we found, and please take over because
Yes.
Johnny said you might know about
Yeah, Dave knows what this is. So.
Ghost Note wines, a
Yes.
Super Santa Cruz.
Super
from
Santa
20
Cruz.
Super. Yeah.
Yeah. So we were talking about the idea of Italian wines being grown in
Mhm.
California, Italian grapes being grown in California. He explained to us a little bit of the history of Chianti and how they are very strict about what can be considered a Chianti and what cannot. And that's how Super Tuscan came about, is that they started blending Chianti grapes with other types of grapes. These were not considered Chianti because they broke the rules. And he took that, the winemaker took that kind of, flexible approach.
Good, yeah. And so they're like, well, we're making these wines because people like them and they're selling. So, yeah. And so they came up, I think it was, I don't know if Johnny told you this, but it was Robert Parker, the wine critic here in the States, that came up with the term Super Tuscan and dubbed them that. And they wound up embracing that and just calling themselves, and somewhere down the line, Italy finally allowed for it. And Super Tuscan is a real thing over there now. But for a while, it was just a BS name. They stuck on the wine because they weren't allowed to call it anything else, but it stuck, and they were popular,
selling.
and they sold for more than all the Chianti. Yeah,
Exactly.
So anyway, keep going. Sorry.
So that's what we got. It's got Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, Sangiovese, Negro Amaro, which is not a grape I know about, Nebbiolo, and Merlot. And it's delightful. We just cracked it open.
Yes,
smells amazing. Huge bouquet. It's a little sexy, which we feel is appropriate for this film.
It's very sexy.
Yeah,
we felt a red. I part of me wanted to go with bubbles, but we also felt a red was the.
I can see that. I can see that.
because
I'm with you.
Yeah.
This is my wine right here. So it is gonna. I went red as well on that guy. But yeah, I've actually paired the Super Santa Cruz. I can't remember if it was just a written post or if it was a previous podcast episode. Hey, listeners, go find out for me, would you? Go find out and post on our Substack or something like that. Be useful. Go find this out. I don't want to go through our archive.
Do the work.
That's boring.
Do the work for us.
But we did that, and I have their Sagrantino from Ghost Note on my shelf right now that I bought from Curated a little while ago, and that's one.
I'm saying this not knowing the answer. I feel like Lauren might, but Johnny asked us because he's like, oh, I used to know. He's like, do we know what Ghost Note in terms of music is? Does anyone
sort
know
of,
what?
yes.
And I was like, I'm pretty sure. I told Johnny, I was like, I'm pretty sure you told me this at a tasting at Curated once, and I do not remember. He did not remember.
I don't remember either. I wrote it up because I had to look it up when I paired with it before. I will do it when we post this on. This will post on Thursday later this week. I will write it up for you, and I will find that out. And this will be. We won't know it in the podcast, but we'll know it in the write up. Everyone go to vintertainmentstudios.com. You'll find the answer, and we'll have the pairing written up there. But I looked this up, and that was curious. What a Ghost Note was kind of cool. It is a cool answer when you look it up. Yeah.
And I could have just done that 15 minutes ago, so I'm sorry.
All good. All good. This forces people to go to our Substack. That's the best. You're doing us a favor on that one.
I know the answer,
Super
but
Santa Cruz,
definitely
guys.
go check out the Substack for the answer.
Yeah.
There it is. There it is. So everyone, Super Santa Cruz by Ghost Note Wines. Once again, that is essentially a Super Tuscan, but made in California. All the grapes grown in California. They are a California winery. So look for, so it's not technically that's why they called it a Super Santa Cruz. It's not a Super Tuscan. It's not from Tuscany. So that is what you're looking for. I like that. That is a great pairing. And in a similar kind of reasoning for my own here, you know, this is a film about an ex-con on the run, falling in love with the very thing that hunts him, judges him, isn't supposed to want him, and yet embraces it while still forging his own path for better and for worse. Because the love story is blossoming, and he's like, yeah, I still got to go do this last heist anyway. And it's like, dude, no. But I had to pick a wine from Australia, right? The country of ex-cons. And, you know, it's the wine continent.
They don't appreciate that as much as we think they do, buddy.
I know. I get that. For all our Australia listeners, I know it's ancient history, but nevertheless, I felt Jack Foley is a very, very likable character. Let's put it that way. So you are all very likable, I'm sure. And none of you are actually the ex-cons anymore, except for the ones that are, because you're a full country, and of course you have your own ex-cons now, and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, this is the continent that, you know, Europe didn't want these people, gave them the boot. Now, obviously, Australia was already populated. FYI, white people, it was already populated. But they kicked all those people over there, and they didn't want them, and yet they forged their own path, and now they're their own wine country with the grapes they took from Europe and brought over with them. And so I thought, okay, you know what? What would be better than a wine that was a bit of a collab between a European winery and Australia itself? So it's like the group that is supposed to reject them, or once upon a time did, but now they're coming together and having a wine romance, as it were, to create a singular wine. So this is one that, you know, the best thing I could have found would have been a UK Australia collab. That would have been perfect. I don't know. I'm sure one probably exists. I'm not aware of it, so I couldn't find one. But I did know of a French Australian collab. So I went with a French Australian collab, and look, France, romance. That, in a way, it's even better. So I went with a collab between those two groups. This is an Australian, let's see if I can get it right on camera here. This is Tiralto and Chapoutier.
Back up a bit.
There we go. But then I got the shadows and all that stuff. But Tiralto and Chapoutier, Shiraz, 2017. This is a Chapoutier, very famous Rhone wine group that does a lot of Rhone wines. They have a couple of different projects in Australia at this point in time. Tiralto is actually their American distributor. So they teamed up, the distributor and the French company, and found, this comes from Victoria, Australia, found a piece of land in Australia, got the grapes from there. Shiraz was something I thought would be perfect for this movie as well, because Shiraz, aka Syrah, FYI, for those who don't know out there, Syrah and Shiraz are the same grape. It's just the Australian name for Syrah, but they are literally the same grape, just another name for it. And Syrah is one of those grapes that it's considered a big red, quote unquote. So it's big, it's bold, but it's definitely the most elegant of the big bold reds that are out there. You know, you think of the other big bold reds like Cab Sauv, like Petite Syrah, like Nebbiolo, like Sagrantino, Tannat. You think of all these big bold reds where it's like they're very big, and punchy and tannic, and like that's why you got to age them a little while, or they're too jammy or too sweet or too much. And Syrah is the one that's considered like it usually retains a really good acidity. It usually retains a pepperiness and an elegance and a lightness to it while still being big. And I felt like that was this movie in a nutshell. Like it's big, it takes some big swings, it's bold, but it's elegant. It has a breeziness to it, and just a rhythm to it that is seemingly effortless. I have no idea how hard the shoot was, but seemingly in the final product, these people just pull it off. And I felt like that is a Syrah in a glass right there. A Shiraz coming from Australia, it is going to be a little bit bigger than a Syrah, say, coming from the Rhone, because the Rhone's a little cooler. It's actually hard to get Syrah super ripe in the Rhone, but not at all in Australia. So you're going to get a little jammier, but still retains some of that elegance, retains that pepperiness. So yeah, and it's going to have a little bit of tannic, a little bit of rusticness, but not too much, because this movie is not rustic, it's not tannic, it's not harsh. It is very gentle. And it even has an ending. We're going to talk about the ending when we talk about the movie again. But, you know, the ending is something that the writers struggled to figure out how they wanted to end this. And it's pitch perfect. It's a fantastic ending. So I felt like you want something that is not too big, not too bold, but has some of that in it, but then remains gentle on the palate in the ultimate end. So that's my pairing. Once again, Teralto and Chapoutier Shiraz, that you can find.
I like that.
Partnership with their American distributor, so it's in America. So if you're in America, you can probably find this one in a fine wine shop pretty easily. So give that a look, and I'll have a link down below, as always, to all these wines.
I like that pairing, Dave. I like that. I don't know if our Australian listeners will appreciate being called the sons and daughters of thieves and whores, but perhaps they will with a little wine.
All right. So on that note, so this is, I'm assuming everyone here agrees this is a romance movie.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Is anyone? Okay, perfect. So, uh-oh.
I mean,
3 out of 4 people agree that this is.
I mean, yeah, okay, fine. Yeah, okay, fine. That's my response. Yeah, okay,
Okay,
fine.
yeah, okay, fine. Okay. He's like, I'm not going to be ganged up on.
I think we can all agree it's many things.
It's many
things.
many.
Yes. So what do we think of the chemistry between Clooney and Lopez in this movie? How would we talk about the chemistry between them? How much does this movie work because of them?
Lauren, do you want to take that?
Oh, sure. Thank you so much. I mean, obviously, it's off the walls. I mean, it's ludicrous. They are so good together, so naturalistic. But I was kind of remarking something that I really appreciated. I appreciated every time that I watched this, is that it's 1998. If you have a very sexy movie, with a star like Jennifer Lopez, my expectation going in is she's going to be hypersexualized.
Yeah.
And that is not the case in this movie. In fact, like, they have that great sex scene. It's very well written. It's very beautifully directed, incredibly acted, 10 out of 10. But like, there's also the only person who has like a sex dream in the movie is Jennifer Lopez.
It's Jennifer Lopez, yeah.
And she's completely clothed, and he's naked in a bathtub. It's like completely, actually, from the female gaze, which is so cool, especially for the time. I mean, her costuming is actually very austere. She's in like turtlenecks most.
It's
of the
very
time.
Donna Karen circa 97. Like, it's very Donna Karen circa 97. You straights might not know what that means.
Tight buns.
Tailored black, tight buns.
100%. You know, what is it, nightstick?
Nightstick.
Will travel.
The tussle scene.
Yeah, but
that was
I
very
don't know.
cute. That was very cute.
I mean, I think that it's probably one of the selling points of this movie. I think it makes it appealing to a wider range of people that, once they know what the movie is about, could indulge in it and really like it. But I don't know, every time I'm so impressed by how dynamic it is, particularly from Karen's point of view. And especially for a male writer, male director, I don't know, I was very impressed by that.
Yeah.
I actually half wonder if that might have been a little bit of Leonard from the novel, because apparently the novel is from her POV more than Foley's, and because they were translating it over, maybe some of that got, held over and came over into the final film. I have not read the novel though, so I can't say.
Well,
for sure.
Leonard was definitely. Go ahead there, Kevin.
Oh no, I was going to say this is more of a factoid, but I've not read the novel, but I've read her first appearances in a short story called Karen Makes Out. That is referenced in the hospital room scene when the FBI agent's talking to him when he wakes up, and he's like, "You went after this other guy, Carl, who's a bank robber."
Oh, yeah.
And it's basically the same story as Out of Sight in short story form, but it's a nod to this other. I don't know if it's in. I'm assuming maybe it's in the novel as well, but it's a fun little like Leonard universe kind of thing.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was a bit of an aside. Apologies.
No, it's all good. Yeah, apparently Leonard Apparently, Leonard, specifically with the ending, he was highly involved in the ending and getting it right. Soderbergh was very annoyed that the writer removed certain moments and scenes, particularly the flashbacks, I believe. But then the ending itself was a bit of a point of consternation for them, and Leonard weighed in heavily. So I imagine he had some input throughout, specifically with the POV of. I think there was. I think there was. I think there were conversations. I think there were conversations that we're not privy to. Gotta be.
I looked into it. I looked into it. The only thing Leonard helped with was the ending.
Yeah, I don't believe it. Nah. There were conversations.
Leonard before. No. There might have been conversations, but he thought he would not like the movie.
That's true. That's true.
Because he had read the screenplay, and he was like, "It's not my novel," and he's like, "I don't know if I'm going to like this movie." And it wasn't until he saw a cut. It didn't have the music yet, but it wasn't even. I think it was 15 minutes longer, so it wasn't even a final edit. But he saw that and then he's like, "This is great." But until he saw a cut, having just gone off the script, he didn't think it was going to be. I mean, he was like, "I gave you the rights. That's how it works." So I can't say anything, but I don't think this is going to be for me. I think I'm going to like my novel better. And then he wound up loving the movie. So I'm going to say I bet there was soft.
I bet there were soft whiskey-fueled conversations throughout. Nudge, nudge.
I think Leonard has sold enough, and we're going to talk about actually the extended Elmore Leonard cinematic universe here in just a bit, because that is something that is fascinating. I think he's someone who knows the game. I think he's totally okay with it. He's like, that's not my novel. I'm my novels. And maybe if you hire me to write the screenplay, cool, I'll write the screenplay. But if you're not doing that, it's not me. And I think he's very good about that, and that's why Hollywood keeps coming back to him and keeps taking all his films. Even when they're not box office hits, they just keep coming back to him. Absolutely. So next question for everyone, actually. I just mentioned the cinematic universe. Let's actually jump into that real quick. So fun facts for everybody here. This is a little bit of a part of what I call the now that Marvel has come and gone. They haven't gone, but they're going. So I feel like now that Marvel has like been at the peak, yes, and is struggling to keep that peak. I call it the Elmore Leonard cinematic universe. So in this movie alone, Michael Keaton, we mentioned that he cameos here, and he is cameoing as his character from the Jackie Brown movie, the Quentin Tarantino directed. FYI, my favorite Tarantino film, by the way.
The best Tarantino film by far. To argue with your mother's best Tarantino film.
Anyways, yes, exactly.
I just read the book.
Oh, you just read the book? Amazing.
I just read it. Okay.
I read the book.
But Michael Keaton is cameoing, and believe it or not, that was Michael Keaton's suggestion, was that he cameo as his character in this movie. And he thought it was a great idea. They were basically both going on at the same time, roughly. And when Soderbergh saw the footage of like the rough cut footage of Michael Keaton doing his character, then he was convinced and was like, "Oh yeah, we can put him into this somehow." And so they did. And it was Tarantino they were two different studios, so they were not playing in the same place. And Tarantino was the one that convinced the studio, or demanded, actually. He was like, "You have to give it to them for free. You can't charge him for using the same character." Now, Samuel L. Jackson, who is also in Jackie Brown, is not cameoing as his character from Jackie Brown. So there is that. I had to look that up just in case. I was like, wait a minute. That is that just a coincidence? It is just a coincidence. Right. So they got one, but I don't know if the studios balked at giving them two, or what it was, or if this ending was just too perfect, so they had to make a completely different character. But also Jennifer Lopez's character. We mentioned, Kevin mentioned that she was in a short story as well as this novel. And Jennifer Lopez's character would also be spun off into a TV show. And that character would be played by Carla Gugino in the TV show. That ran, I believe, 1 to 2 seasons, or just a season. But then Carla Gugino herself, as that same character, would then cameo in the Justified TV show later, which is all based on Elmore Leonard stories and novels and whatnot. So there is this shared universe of Elmore Leonard characters that just sort of dance between the movies and the TV shows and whatnot. Has anyone, I'm going to be honest, that was news to me. when I was researching this. Was that news to anyone else?
I was aware of it just being like a fan, like the Keaton thing and stuff like that. And
Yes.
I think I found one yesterday that I'm pretty sure the character, I don't know the actor's name, but the character Raymond Cruz, who's briefly in Out of Sight,
Yes.
is the main character in a book called City Primeval that was adapted as a Justified series where they switched the character to Raylan Givens as the protagonist.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure the same actor who pops up in Out of Sight plays him in the TV series.
Yes, he does.
Which is like a
Yes,
great,
he
and
does.
you're talking, what was it, like 20 years later or 30 years, whatever they
Yeah,
pick
at
after.
least. Because it was
20,
21, so 22, 23 years later.
Yeah,
Out of
that's
Sight.
great.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. And that's the Primeval one. That's the Justified. After the main Justified ended, then they came back with this Justified Primeval.
And the book is just about, if I remember correctly, Raymond Cruz is the primary character in the book. And they switch sort of perspective for the sake of the show.
Yeah. So in any event, everyone go out and watch some more Elmore Leonard, read his books. I've never read an Elmore Leonard book still to this day. So that is a shame. I know.
If you enjoy crime novels, like they're fun, fast reads, they're really well written. Like, and they do this with the interconnection thing. Like, I've made a point of reading a bunch this year, and I've made such a small dent in the number of novels he has.
I know the last novel and the last novel he ever wrote before his passing, Elmore Leonard, he wrote it for George Clooney's character, Jack Foley, and made him the proper protagonist, and in hopes that Clooney could play him again. That was why he did it, and that was his final novel. It still hasn't been done, unfortunately, but that was his hope because he liked it. He liked Out of Sight so much. So on that note, let's talk about the ending.
Real quick, Dave, real quick. By the way, Lauren, you mentioned the Jennifer Lopez character, sort of the feminism surrounding, the aura of feminism surrounding it, right? In leading up to this, I've been reading a lot of sort of feminist blogs, and there's a lot of discussion about this film. There is a lot of discussion about this film. It is often touted as one of the sort of benchmarks of post-feminism in terms of cinema, because the character still needs, ultimately, she still needs a man in her life, is the default kind of, thesis coming away from.
She went after Michael Keaton, right?
And she
went
right
that character.
Michael Keaton. Even though she's this really, autonomous sort of being who's really climbed the heights and broken the glass ceilings and done all the things, that one element. So there's so much discussion about this film in terms of where it stands in the sort of feminism sort of cinematic timeline. So if anybody's interested, go check it out. Thoughts, Lauren?
You get dicey here because it always, I obviously represent all women when I give my opinion.
Naturally. That's why I asked.
But yes, so you're all welcome, women. But the way I see that, and I think there's something definitely to be said about that, is that they present her as somebody who is very good at her job, who is incredibly smart and self-sufficient. But she's still a daddy's girl, right? And she's still
Daddy buys her a new gun. Yeah,
and a Chanel suit. And they speak often, especially in like the first half of the movie, about how she seems to have this tendency to like either men who are married or straight up criminals. So
breaking the rules to get the man that she wants, right? Like in both cases, she's breaking some kind of rule. Yeah.
Right. My take on it, and I begin to lose when we're feminism, second wave feminism, post feminism. I begin to lose all of that because I've got too much to do. But I think that I think I always get a little itchy when it's like, well, if women are talking about or portraying who they are interested in sexually or romantically, then that's not feminist. Right. It's like, well, as a feminist woman, I happen to be married to a man, and I happen to have a romantic life, and I happen to have a sexual life. So I always I always
Right.
get a little itchy about that, and I don't know
Mhm.
exactly where it fits into a greater discussion about feminism, but I'm literally the one with the microphone right now, so I'll just say that.
There you
You
go.
know?
That's
And
absolutely.
she's a well-rounded person to me in this movie, an admirable one. And I think that's worth it. I
Right.
think that that's
And
really
on top
cool.
of it, she's
Yeah.
horny. Let the girl live. Let her
And why
live.
not?
Let her
I mean,
live,
Jesus, have you
guys.
seen George Clooney? I'd be.
Yeah,
of
especially
course,
in
we
this
all be
movie.
horny.
Honestly, I was like, I've never found him attractive, but
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I get it now. Totally get it. Get it.
Absolutely.
Get
Get
it.
it, girl. Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. So I'm jumping now to the ending of the film, which was something that the screenwriter Scott Frank could not figure out on his own. He apparently struggled. The ending of the novel is not the ending of this movie. The ending of the novel is just him going back to prison and Karen just having decided on that, and just and he was like, something's not right about that ending. Like that, the romance fizzles at that
Yeah.
point. It's too
Right.
hard edged. It's too hard nosed, and not enough of. But how do these two characters? You know, one of the things that is always interesting about their chemistry whenever they're having the romantic scenes is they're both. I think one of the things that makes those scenes work so well, and it's so unique in romantic cinema of the time, is like they're both very reserved yet so happy.
Yeah.
And it's so plain that they're so happy to just be there together, even though they're both kind of like, you know, we know what's going on here and we know what probably has to happen later. So we have to, the arm's length is there, and yet we're just basking in this togetherness nevertheless. And somehow they're able to show both of those things in one go. So I agree with Frank that, like, yeah, he needed a different ending. He needed an ending that was going to honor that in some way, shape, or form. So he actually went back to Elmore Leonard to figure out the ending. And he was like, he gave up basically at one point, and he's like, I don't know what to do here. He's like, can you please figure it out? And it was Elmore Leonard that came up with Sam Jackson's character.
That's so
and
right? Isn't that
created
fantastic?
it, put it into the screenplay. Yes.
I mean,
and yeah, go ahead.
I would say it's the walking out of the theater moment, right? It's like if they end up with him in jail and her going back to work, you're walking past the concessions, like, what the hell why did I watch?
Yes.
You know, and it's like
right.
They're able to maintain that like, you know, it's almost like giving us like an elliptical, like, will they, won't they, where it's like just goes on into perpetuity. Like you're just gonna, you know, it's just like, something we'll figure something out, you know, like.
Right. And there's nothing about this movie that was like, it's all going to end on a downer. Like it does feel like, no, this is giving us way too much hope. This is giving us way too much good feelings on top of, like, yes, this is tricky and this is sticky and this is messy, but you know, figure it out, movie, right? You know, figure it out, screenwriters, like, give us something good. And so they did. So I'm assuming, anyone have any thoughts on that ending? Was this the best capper? Any other thoughts on that?
Yes, I think it's, in my opinion, it is just undeniable that, like, it's an absolutely perfect ending, because you again the walking out of the theater thing, like because I think the honest ending is the novel. Like, the honest ending, he goes to jail, once he shoots him and he dies, because throughout the movie he's like, wouldn't be a bad way to go, in like sort of a Butch and Sundance kind of way. Like, he acknowledges, he mentions network and you know, so the honest ending is that ending into him dying or being, you know, in jail. But the ending we want is or the ending we need, I guess, maybe is better to put it. It is that. It's some in between of, you know, which I think it's, we watched it again last night, and I was like, oh yeah, this is just perfect.
Yeah,
you know, I would be so excited if I came up with that ending.
Oh, absolutely. And I can tell you right now, I guarantee you, Elmore Leonard, after he saw this ending, after they took his idea, after he solved the problem with this $1 million film, he walked away thinking, they should have just let me write it. I mean, he came in as the fixer. I should have just let me write the damn
Not
thing.
once he saw the film, though. Once he saw the film, he did not feel that way. This is still, I mean, again, he wrote his final novel before death was like, I want to see George Clooney do this again.
Right.
Like, that was his final take. So I don't know.
I would say all credit to Scott Frank too. He's
absolutely,
like he's the amount of work he has done is there was a profile of him in, I think, like the New Yorker or something like that a year or two ago, that's like really worth checking out. They talk about a bunch of this stuff.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
is worth saying.
Yeah.
Al-
Absolutely.
Also, by the way, we
Do
get to
that.
see Viola Davis, the great Viola Davis, on a couch in a
Oh my
caftan.
God,
Just, I hate
Yeah.
to say this, but just acting circles around Jennifer Lopez, even though Jennifer Lopez is doing great. I had to say that. Sorry.
a whole,
Hmm?
it's one of those amazing examples of just like that's almost like a one act. Like you get
Right.
you get her entire
Truly.
life story from like
Absolutely.
the 6 lines that she says,
Absolutely.
the way that she interacts with
Right.
that's her brother-in-law,
That's her
right?
brother-in-law. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's just you get so much. Oh my God.
so
And
good.
like that's one of those little details as a writer you like salivate over when they're just talking about the dog that gets run
Yes.
over.
God,
And
yes.
that you see everybody's reaction
Yeah.
to the dog getting run over, and you're like, well, now I know who these people are. I have this insight into
Right.
who they
right.
are. It's she's amazing
So
in that
good.
scene. Yeah.
So good. Yeah, the casting of this, apparently Bruce Willis, John Travolta were considered early on. And then, of course, we got Clooney's dark-featured, morally ambiguous style and charm won the part. Sandra Bullock, like we said earlier, apparently she refused to come in for a second audition, and that's when they called Jennifer Lopez. And Jennifer Lopez, who has a bit of a reputation of being a little salty, she has this great quote. She says, they caught her on some red carpet, and she said, "You can't expect things to be handed to you." And that's in reference to Sandra Bullock saying either, hire me or don't. I'm Sandra Bullock. So you can't expect things to be handed to you because there's always somebody like me ready to kick down the door and steal the job right out from under you. It's like, all right. I'll allow it because you did a good job. I'll allow it. And on top of that, Section 8 Productions was born out of this Soderbergh and Clooney partnership. Section 8 would go on to then, of course, produce Michael Clayton, Syriana, Good Night, and Good Luck. And a bit of a note about the music here. The soundtrack is the work of David Holmes, a member of the band Unloved, whose long-standing collaboration with director Soderbergh here began with Out of Sight and has lasted quite a while. And he did the entire Ocean trilogy as well.
And Soderbergh has made virtually one movie a year for his entire career since 1989.
Phenomenal.
That's great.
It's insane.
No, almost.
Phenomenal.
He's done a few years where he
How?
did 2 movies in a single year, and then he skipped a year.
He
So
just
it
had
doesn't,
to come out.
but it still counts.
Right.
It still counts. And so
Yeah.
it is insanity and dedication, frankly.
Yeah.
But he finds that way. He'll be like, well, fine. If the only thing I can make this year is a $200,000 movie, that's what I'm doing. Even though he
Right.
just made a $50 million movie,
Right.
right? And so he has no problem just flipping that switch
That's
and going to
beautiful.
whatever he can make happen and starring in it if he has to.
That's what I
He'll
love.
go to all those lengths. Yeah.
That's what I
Yeah.
love. He'll
He's
star
one of those
in it
guys I'll watch
quickly.
anything he does.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
I'm realizing I need to watch more. Like when I looked at his filmography, there were too many gaps. There were too many movies because he's made one a year. I'm
It's a
like,
lot of
wait a minute.
A lot of
Yeah, I'm
movies.
like, there's so many I remember when they came out, and then I forgot about because then he just made another movie. So I just focused on that one, and then I forgot that I missed one or two in between. So and Steven Soderbergh was like the 4th director they considered at the time too, because he hadn't had any box office successes since his debut.
Mhm.
And this was his 6th movie. And all his movies before this one had been big box office losses. This one, I think, showed promise
Right.
and was critically acclaimed.
Yeah.
And so then he jumped from this movie, just so people know the context here. He went from this movie to Aaron Brockovich and Traffic, both
right.
releasing in 2000. One of them shot in 1999, one of them shot in 2000. Both were released in 2000. Traffic won him the Academy Award. Aaron Brockovich was an enormous box office darling. I mean, it made a ton. It made over $350 million.
Yeah.
And it was a huge hit. And then he did Ocean's 11 after those two. So, and from there,
And then he did Magic
he
Mike
hasn't
a
had
few
that
years
many
later.
box office. Oh, that's true. Well, no, and to be fair, Magic Mike was actually his next huge box office success after all of that. Magic Mike was a $7 million, and try and wrap your head around this. Out of
That's
Sight
right.
was $48 million. Magic Mike was 7.
7.
Wow.
Oh, super interesting.
Isn't that
Yeah.
super interesting?
That's crazy, right?
And Magic Mike had a $7 million budget and made over $160 million in theater at the box office.
He knows what he's doing. This
that
guy.
was his like comeback after that.
Yeah,
He does.
yeah.
He
When-
does.
and
For the
he's
most part.
The movies he makes now, for the most part, you know, like
Yeah.
he's making for
What's
couple
the
$1
latest?
million,
What's
like
the latest
600
two
grand.
releases? What are the latest two releases?
Black Bag and Presents.
Black Bag. Yeah.
And Black Bag.
And
was
Black
pretty-
Bag was good. Yeah, Black Bag did
Yeah.
very well.
Okay.
I really
like Black Bag.
I really like.
Oh, I
Black
haven't
Bag.
seen it.
Yeah,
Interesting.
It was great.
Okay.
And by the way, I will also tell our listeners that Soderbergh recently in 2021, he released another crime thriller that also stars Don Cheadle, just like in Don Cheadle's one of the supporting leads in Out of Sight. And it's Don Cheadle and Benicio del Toro. It's called No Sudden Move. It
Love that
apparently was completely overlooked by everyone at the time.
Yeah.
Did you see it? And
Yeah, I loved
I've been reading a lot about how like everyone's like, go give it another shot. Like this one is
Okay.
worth seeing. And so that's a recommendation to everyone as well. Have you guys, do you remember it?
Yeah, I could be wrong. I believe Ed Solomon's the writer on it, who's a big writer. I think he's the writer on it. Yeah, it fits into the same sort of like Brendan Fraser's in it. It fits into the same sort of
Nice.
like Elmo Leonard-ish kind of crime space. It was
It's
very.
Yes.
Period piece.
I
Yes, it's a
think I
period
believe it's
piece.
yeah.
Yes.
In, I believe in
Okay.
Detroit, possibly.
In Detroit, I
Yeah,
feel
okay.
like it had a very strong anti-capitalist theme, which was kind of fun. It was, yeah.
I think if I remember correctly, it was like I think during the pandemic. I think it was released on streaming. I don't know if it
Yeah.
was intended
Okay.
for streaming.
Yeah. I think so.
So
I
it
think
got
so.
lost in the shuffle.
And it's on
of,
HBO Max now.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Yeah. So HBO Max, everybody, No Sudden Move, Steven Soderbergh. That watch Out of Sight. Watch that. Any final thoughts on Out of Sight? Kevin, Lauren, anything else we did not discuss about this movie that you want to make sure you mention?
I think I'm good.
I think I am also good. No, thanks for letting us come in and talk about it. We really love this movie, and we hope this encourages some people who maybe didn't get to see it to go check it out.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It'd been a while for me since I had last seen it, so I was really happy to rewatch. And for our listeners, if you want to be followed on social media, is there any place they should follow you on social media?
I am not on social media.
Okay.
No judgment. I'm just not on social media.
Don't worry, I'm
could not
barely
have
on
said
social
that.
media, so I get it.
Yeah.
You really
I'm the
embraced
only
it.
one.
Creepiness, like I am not on social media.
Yes, Senator.
I am. Don't feel any pressure, but I'm on Instagram at lsmirk86. I work in some theaters around Los Angeles. I promote other theatrical experiences. If you're interested in going to see live theater in Los Angeles, which you should be,
Yes, you
please come
should.
out and support. Then I'll have info on my Instagram about that. So yeah.
Very cool.
Beautiful. And don't forget, she has her play coming out February
That's
2026. So you want to
right.
find out about that. So go follow her on
Yeah.
Instagram. I'll make sure I find a link for that. I'll have it in the description of this episode below. We'll have it on our Substack as well, so you can find it either way. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you so much for
Yes.
joining us and talking about Out of Sight and
Great
pairing it
stuff.
with wine like the weirdos that we are on this podcast. And just to sign off here, everybody, once again, make sure to hit that follow or subscribe. It really helps this podcast grow. Leave a rating and or review. That really helps this podcast grow. The algorithm loves it. And life is nothing but about beating the algorithm these days. Unfortunately, no one wants that, but it is what it is. So
Our
help us
algorithms
out.
are going
Don't
to be
make us-
more
don't make us
important than
market.
our DNA very soon. I'm just saying that. So reference this in 20
Very
years
soon.
when we are
Very
in
soon.
the Matrix. I'm just joking. Go on, Dave.
Yes. Don't forget to find us on Substack, entertainmentstudios.com. That is also, if you like this podcast, if you love wine, if you love movies, if you love books, TV, music, we do it all. We pair wine with it all. You can find us on entertainmentstudios.com. You can also support us by becoming a paid subscriber. It is just $2 a month per paid subscriber, $19.60 a year. It
That's right.
is budgeted for the modern era where we know people do not have a lot to go around. And frankly, all of your favorite creators and artists and voices
Yes.
are all online and they all need your support, and you're trying to support them all. And you can only do so many. So if we're one of them, maybe you have $2 to spare. Maybe you have $19.60 to spare. Now, if you're a big time spender, you can also become a producer. Get it? And that is our $50 a year tier. And for that, you can commission an episode. Tell us what you want us to cover. We will do that, and you get a shout out every episode. So first off, shout out to our first 3 producers, Jessica Mason, who a graphic novelist and horror and fantasy novelist extraordinaire. You can find her on Substack as well, monsteroftheweek.substack.com. Paul Kalamkiarian, who does the podcast Wine Talks with Paul K. His podcast is better than ours. He's been doing this for a very long time. He is OG, so go check him out as well, Wine Talks with Paul K. And then last but not least, Kate Michelle, a Portuguese wine expert who you can find at survivesonwine.substack.com. Thank you so much to our first 3 producers. We will check you all next time. Thanks so much once again, Kevin and Lauren, and ciao everybody for now. Catch you next. We will be back in 1 week with another Wine and Entertainment pairing for your entertainment. Ciao for now.
Later, guys.
Actually totally news to me. I did not know this. I didn't actually the fact that he played an emergency room technician in this show as well as what he did in ER later, even the name of this show is a little like, wait, what? It's interesting.
Is the show called Emergency?
Oh, okay, it's called E/R.
Oh.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Come on.
E/R. That's
like
it. That's the only difference. The current show, the newer show, just doesn't have the stupid / It's the same title.
It's like the pit, right? The whole pit.
Yes. All right.
Yeah.